We look at a really curated assortment that is special to each community. We look at the team that we hire, their understanding of the community, the displays that may have a local nod to the community, and the activations that we have in celebrations of the local market.
You're listening to Retail Remix, your inside access to candid conversations with the people shaping retail's future. Here's your host, Alicia Esposito.
I always feel like I could get lost in an Anthropologie store. Not only does the brand have such a great assortment of fashion, but there are so many cute little knickknacks, home goods, not to mention books. I love me some books. And honestly, there's so much to see, explore, discover, that going to an Anthropologie store truly feels like a moment. Well, I was super excited that I got to sit down with someone who helps drive what these moments are all about. Mindy Massey, Executive Director of Retail at Anthropologie Group. Now, she's been with the company for more than 20 years, so she has really seen the growth and evolution of the business, has helped uncover what's really working, what consumers are wanting, and how that's changed and how the brand can adapt. I always love speaking with folks like Mindy because they really have their finger on the pulse of not just the industry, but what really matters for their business. So they're always bringing a unique and valuable perspective for all of you, our listeners. So listen in, because Mindy doesn't just share how her team approaches gathering data, using it to inform and inspire the physical experience, but also how the Anthropologie team is exploring new creative tactics and avenues for engaging with their customers in physical experiences. Mindy, thanks so much for being on Retail Remix. I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. I'm happy to be here and excited to share.
Yeah, and honestly, I have a lot of questions prepared for you because you've been with Anthropologie Group for more than 20 years, an incredible career, tenure. And within that time, the company has gone from just 10 stores to more than 230, I believe. So can you share a little bit about your progression within the company and how this journey has aligned with the evolution and growth of Anthropologie as a business?
Well, my career is deeply rooted in the stores, and I feel so proud to be able to represent them in my current role. Two things have been the most impactful in my career: my time spent with the customer, and you'll hear me talk a lot about the customer today, and my time spent with my team. That intersection of people, product, and purpose has been a cornerstone to my leadership approach. Each of these areas kind of grows at different rates, so we're always primarily focused on finding and surrounding ourselves with talent that can flex and impact it all in a positive way. I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by this kind of amazing talent, and I've learned from them every day of my 25 years here. So I start every day with people. I talk about people constantly. It is just something that I am so passionate about. From the beginning at Anthropologie, I would say the brand has given me the autonomy to be creative and make decisions, and I've empowered my team to do the same. As we've grown, this has really helped our team to evolve with the customer because we're constantly collaborating with the customer and aren't doing things in one prescribed way. We're a customer-led business. We like to say we speak customer. We are each empowered to do what's right for the customer. So the dialogue around evolution has to be constant. So when you hear, oh, someone's been at a brand for 25 years, I think as much as I've really been there experiencing all of that, I've also changed so much over that time. As uncomfortable as it can be, I think that really having a lot of dialogue around evolution is so necessary. You have to embrace that discomfort, knowing that it'll help you push forward. And so as I reflect on my time with the brand, it is definitely the times I was most uncomfortable that I grew the most. And our store teams, they have so much incredible tenure. Their ability to embrace that evolutionary mindset has really what has illuminated our growth opportunities.
And Mindy, I have to say, I love your emphasis on people because retail is a people business, as you said. And I think when we lose sight of that and we just focus on brand image and, the corporate identity and lose sight of all of the individuals that make up the brand identity, that's when things kind of go awry. And obviously, the store experience specifically is rooted in people, interpersonal communication, communities coming together, and really having those moments of true, authentic engagement, which is so exciting. So let's talk about the physical experience of Anthropologie and really what the brand aims to evoke. Like, how has that changed or evolved, if at all, right? Because I know I personally get a very distinct feeling when I go into an Anthropologie location.
Hopefully, when you come into our stores, you really are able to see our emphasis on creating something imaginative and really fun. But the creative component of our experience has always been a pillar of our brand and the foundation of who we are. As with everything, this has really evolved in a beautiful way, moving us forward where we are now, which is a really thoughtful curation of our heritage and modernity. What I'm most proud of today, though, is how we've been able to protect the creative experience while also growing our level of service. We now look at all aspects of our business through the lens of the service and the impact that it has to the customer. We want everyone walking through our doors to feel joy, to feel inspiration, to feel the passion we've put into all aspects of our work.
Yeah, that's great. I do get a nice little happy feeling every time I go into your stores. I will say that. So to connect those dots a little bit better, knowing that retail is, again, a people business, how do you use consumer insights and data to guide, inform, or even validate your approach that what the brand is doing in stores is working and resonating?
As I previously mentioned, you're probably going to get a little tired of talking about the customer, but we really prioritize that connection. We've always had an authentic relationship and an open and honest dialogue that allows us to confidently make decisions and improvements on their behalf. When we first started receiving formal customer insights, we were really proud to see how aligned our instincts were with the data that was being provided. It has helped to validate the voice we've given our customers for years and to action their wants and needs in a more tangible manner. We are able to impact how we show up for the customer based on what they've shared with us. We're using the dialogue and the data to keep pushing to be better. There are times when we don't always get it right, but that is when we stop, we really listen, we learn, and make the pivot part of the culture.
That's great. And I think combining the quote unquote firm data with the true conversation, those authentic moments of connection, and really turning it into something meaningful is what's really top of mind, I think, for a lot of, if not all of our listeners. And I have to say, I always love having folks like you on the show because you're not only so immersed in the brand, but also the physical side of the experience. Of course, we're covering all aspects of the retail industry, and there are always debates around what does the future of the store look like? How will stores remain relevant? How can they not just boost performance, but drive foot traffic and engagement, all of those metrics, right? So honestly, anytime I can, I like to focus on the positive aspects and the big wins that are happening in stores so we can distill some really great insight on what has worked well and what those moments of success truly look like. So what have been some of the big milestone moments for you over the past 2 decades, essentially, especially in terms of new openings? I guess let's take a step back, right? Because I'm asking you a really big question. Let's focus on the last year. Let's focus on big milestone moments over the past year, new openings, big moments to really illustrate and reaffirm what's happening in the physical retail world, the good moments happening in this world of physical retail.
Well, I think you hit on it perfectly. You really have to be an experience. You have to be more than just a provider of goods, because I think that's what the customer is looking for. When we were experiencing the emergence of digital, it was definitely a time with a lot of uncertainty for brick and mortar retail. It was a little bit scary, actually, because you just would listen to what was happening from a macro level. And that uncertainty was a lot to handle. Digital had such an incredible accelerated growth trajectory. We learned really quickly and continue to do so and continue to be focused on this even in this past year, how to embrace and celebrate the relationship between the channels. Initially, we all thought people would choose just one channel or the other. It was kind of, okay, the customer is going to become just digital and walk completely away from brick and mortar. But we actually know that isn't how our customers like to experience the brand. They're omni customers, and we strive to be there for them in both channels consistently and inspire them to be in both of the spaces in that really engaged way. Going through that taught me a lot about the importance of resolve, both the noun and the verb. Resolve in the verb sense of how to utilize all of your resources to solve the challenges and friction points that you have to make it a better experience. And then also resolve in the noun form as the balance of kind of passion and perseverance. I feel that our retail teams really shine in both aspects of that word and have continued to build their business in such a healthy way because of it.
Got it. So with that, I do want to get a little bit further into the physical experience and what your customers get to interact with when they go into your locations. Because as you noted earlier, there is a core brand promise that Anthropologie has to uphold, that feeling you want to create consistently using curation and creativity. But how do you think about tailoring or fine-tuning the physical experiences to more local behaviors and preferences? Are there any notable examples of how this has been done in the past or how you're thinking about it now?
Yeah, I think that empowerment that I talked about at the top comes through in this question for sure. And it starts on day one of opening a store. I think we look at a really curated assortment that is special to each community. We look at the team that we hire, their understanding of the community, the displays that may have a local nod to the community, and the activations that we have and celebrations of the local market. From there, we continue to build upon that. We tap into community in a variety of ways, like styling events, or we invite local makers to come in and set up shop on a Saturday in our locations, pop-up markets. We have community impact events. These are all really important to us as a layered brand. I think it's important to give your teams a platform also to share about what's important to them in their community and represent that. Some of our proudest community moments have started from an idea and was shared in that way. We did a lot of listening. We figured out how to make that event happen for that store team. And then we would take that information and figure out, how can we scale it? How can we do this in more locations that have this same customer, or this is really important to them as a team? So it just gives us so many wonderful considerations of how we show up for the customer.
I'm so glad you brought up pop-ups, and we are going to dig a little bit deeper into that in a second. But I want to make sure we really drill into the point you made earlier around the role of digital. For background, we did a story last year featuring insights from your global CMO about how Anthropologie strikes that balance between the authenticity and real-time connection of digital channels with the curation and then the aspiration of not just the physical store, but also print and other more tactile touch points, I guess you could say. Before we go further into the pop-up discussion and your plans for the future, I would love your thoughts on this and how you think about the influence and value of technology for stores. Again, knowing that it's not an either or thing, it's very much an and experience, so to speak, and it is very fluid.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say, this is what our CEO, Tricia Smith, has really reinvigorated in all of us. A customer-first mindset, regardless of the channel. So we focus on offering a really consistent experience in both retail and digital, focusing primarily on how, like when you have each of those touch points, how the brand makes you feel. Every decision, every discussion, every idea, every path that we're on really leads to the customer, and that is unwavering and that never changes. And having that symbiotic relationship between the two channels has really helped us expand our reach. To answer your question about tech, it has to be value added and enrich the experience, but not replace it. for stores. I've had experiences with tech that, it actually kind of creates a little bit of friction, and we're very mindful of that. It's one of the most recent ways that we've really embraced tech is how we're able to be top of mind for the customer, even when they're not inside of our four walls, and being able to continue the conversation with them outside of our four walls, which really kind of breaks down the brick and mortar to omni-channel lanes or to digital lanes. But I think that for me, the tech has to be an enhancement. It has to actually add value. And, I think there are some things out there that just don't.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And I know we've had many discussions, not just with folks like yourself who, represent the brand and are creating these experiences, but also agencies, design firms, those that are helping drive innovation and drive this decision making at the store level. And it seems like there has been a really notable shift from let's add this really cool glitzy tech to, make people super excited to be in your store to let's just see how we can enhance things. Let's see how we can streamline things, not just for the customer, but for the associate as well. So I think that's a very, very appropriate and timely point that, we're seeing all retailers really pivot their focus and their priorities on. But I did say we were going to talk about pop-ups, and I'm glad you brought it up first because we have covered quite a few really super fun projects that Anthropologie has done just over the past year. I mean, there was Holiday House, there's this super fun saloon concept, and I think these two alone really show the creative opportunity that exists within pop-ups, even though they may be brand relevant or brand accurate. There is that chance to really push some limits, right? Before we dig a little bit deeper into successes and your thoughts on the medium, can you share some context into how you and your team work with your colleagues in marketing to identify new ideas and opportunities in this area? Because I do know it is equally a store play as well as a marketing play, right? So can you expand upon how that works within the Anthropologie business?
For sure. And I love that you brought up Holiday House. I was just there last week, and I have to tell you, it was absolutely beautiful and transformative. And I was planning my holiday decor and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's September. So that's what it does to you.
Never too early. I'm putting my stake in the ground.
We have an amazing marketing team. So we're very aligned in our ethos and what we want to offer our customer. They do all of the heavy pop-up lifting, I'd say, and we support with our teams from a service component. As internal customers, we get just as much out of the experience as our customer does. And in a smaller format, we really get to spend one-on-one time with the customer. And we always take so much away from that connection and learn how we can apply that in our stores, because you get to have really, really protected conversation with them. When our pop-ups are on social media, we get so much feedback from the customer about bringing that experience to their city. When we did the saloon, so many customers came into our stores and were like, can that come here? Can we have that experience here? So it really does invigorate an inspiration and a fun, playful interaction with the customer. We really think about it on a small scale because you're thinking it's a pop-up, but it has such a tremendous and a really wide reach. So really fun.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like marketing kind of brings a different perspective to the table of like what a physical experience could be and how that's amplified and how it shows up basically in all of these different channels. But in your eyes, knowing that you are in the stores, you're so people focused and, that's really what drives you and your success metrics, right? That's what dictates your day to day. How would you define a successful pop-up experience? Like what makes you go, like the Holiday House example, right? Like what really brightens your eyes, both as a consumer as well as an executive who is doing this work every day?
I think it allows you to really curate something that you are gobsmacked by because it's just unexpected and so amazing. When you're surrounded by as much creativity as we are, a pop-up is a perfect way to have fun with an idea. It's also a great way to just take a risk in something new, to show up in a really unexpected way for a specific market. It's a great opportunity to be disruptive inventive and go after a trend, to go after a vibe, to go after a moment, just in a playful way. So it's amazing to be able to leverage these pop-ups. As I mentioned, like the social reach is incredible, but then it's also a great way for the customer to experience the full breadth of our brands. We have so many layers to our brands, and it allows us to really go after that lifestyle in a curated way.
I love that. So I guess the big question is, what role will pop-ups play for Anthropologie going into 2025? Because, as I noted, there has been a lot of great examples over the past year alone. So is it going to be another big focus for next year too?
For sure. We're definitely going to continue our momentum here. It's so wonderful to be able to celebrate our total lifestyle brand experience, which gives us a lot of opportunities to be present in different communities and be present in a very uniquely and creative way and show up meaningfully for our customer.
Amazing. Amazing. So with all this in mind, you mentioned that consumers have said like, oh, can we have this experience here? And like they really share that feedback around that great gobsmacked moment, like you noted, right, in these pop-ups. Have there been any notable learnings in terms of not just what makes an ideal pop-up moment, but like what could be a bigger opportunity, not just in one store, but maybe more stores? Like, I guess I'm trying to understand the ripple effects or the longer term value that pop-ups can bring to a business in different ways. I mean, any thoughts?
For sure. I think we've learned a lot from them and are taking those learns into consideration in our real estate growth strategy. So we have done sometimes pop-ups in a market that we know we're going to go into with a full brick and mortar store just to get the customer excited about the brand. And I think that the relationship between our digital and stores business exists here as well. We can see what the awareness does to each channel, which has really helped to inform our store square footage, our product assortment, that we mentioned about curating it for the community. And it really helps us to distort into the celebration of a category that is meaningful to that market.
Oh, that's great. So we're just about at our time together, but I would be remiss if I did not bring up holiday. Obviously, we're getting into peak holiday time soon, but as you noted, it seems like we're inching farther back year by year. We're talking about holiday and thinking about holiday sooner and sooner. So what is top of mind for you as your team's big plans and ideas really come to life? Like what is driving your day at this point?
Well, I have to tell you. So first of all, I want to make sure that my teams take care of themselves and take care of each other as they're taking care of the customer. I want us to be a place of joy and happiness for both, as everyone is navigating such a busy time of year. I really want us to be that place where someone can come in and kind of feel that relief, feel that excitement, feel that energy. I really love the idea of reciprocal joy, being a place where you come in and find what you need, along with the things that you never knew you needed and are excited to give them to others. And I think that we also have in store some imaginative, whimsical windows that are absolutely extraordinary. I really can't wait for everyone to see what we have in the store this year in the windows. They're beautiful and really transformative.
I love a good holiday window moment. Going to New York City and seeing all the windows is my favorite thing. And honestly, Anthropologie is on my list. I'm not just saying that, but it's always one of my top stores to visit every year. But with that, can you share anything that's coming down the pipeline other than, be on the lookout for the windows? Anything that you're especially excited about going into the holiday season? Because it's interesting. It's hard not to get lost in the uncertainty and the debate of like where the consumers' heads are at and like economically, like how will they be spending? Where will they be spending? It's hard to not get lost in the nitty gritty details and really truly enjoy the joy of the season, like you mentioned, and creating those magical moments. So anything exciting coming down the pipeline that you can call out for our listeners?
For sure. So you mentioned at the top of the podcast that, in my time at Anthropologie, we've gone from around 10 stores to just over 240 stores. So I think that what I always, am excited about in the back half of the year is the new communities that will welcome an Anthropologie before the end of the year. I think for all of our existing stores globally, we want to meet the customer where they are for all of their holiday milestones, their table, their decor, what they're wearing for hosting and toasting, all of the giving, all of the getting, all of it, all of the most beautifully curated gifts. we just want to be there to spread a little bit of that holiday magic along the way, but are super excited about the new communities that we'll be going into in the back half of the year.
Amazing. So we'll definitely keep our eyes and ears open for that. But as we close out, Mindy, I always like to ask folks, again, who are living and breathing retail, are so immersed in not just the industry, but their individual businesses and their consumers. I always like to ask about key learnings and takeaways from the past year, especially this time of year. So have there been any big aha moments for you in 2024? And is there anything you're most excited to tackle in 2025? I mean, like, no trend is too big or too small, no budget that we can't cross. Like, what is really top of mind and what is exciting you right now about retail?
I think we do so much listening and learning. I'm really excited about all the things that we can amplify for next year to show up for the customer. So this impacts all areas of our business, our new store and digital growth, our category expansions, our service and selling initiatives, our creative experience that I was just talking about for holiday, our pop-ups, and especially like our team focus on development. When it comes to development, I think that you can easily get bogged down by distorting too much time into opportunities versus magnifying people's strengths. And I think we're a brand where we celebrate everybody bringing their strengths to the table and how we can amplify those strengths to show up for the customer. So I think if we're focusing our time on celebrating that and reinforcing how we're utilizing those strengths to show up for each other and the customer, it can create a truly dynamic environment. So the magnification creates the magic, and we're excited to do that for next year. It's so rewarding to travel across the globe and see our teams representing the brand and showing up for their customers, showing up for each other in their way. And I know my 2025 will be filled with the same inspiring experience they're providing their customers and lots of new stores.
Amazing. Well, Mindy, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, especially as we ramp up the holiday season, to share a little bit about your work, your successes, what's happening with the brand, and really what's to come. Thank you again so much for taking the time out.
Thanks for having me, Alicia.
And to all of you, we appreciate you taking the time out to listen to this conversation. We would love to hear your thoughts online. We are on LinkedIn mainly, a little bit on X, but LinkedIn is where we tag our guests. We really try to continue the conversation. So if you have any follow-up questions, comments, or your own Anthropologie experiences to share on LinkedIn, we'd love to hear from you. And of course, be sure to leave us a rating or review on your preferred podcast player. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, of course, and anywhere else, we're probably there too. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, the show in general, and who we should have in the hot seat moving forward. And of course, while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the show. We have new episodes coming to you weekly, save for a few breaks here and there. When you subscribe, you get the latest and greatest delivered right to your device. For now, that's it from us, everyone. Thank you again so much for joining us. We will see you next time. Take care. Thanks for listening to this episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on your favorite podcast player. Until next time, keep mixing it up.